coming to Pricketts Fort and have been doing a presentation about the people called slaves and what their role is in this area, and also learning about the lives of the people called slaves in general, so that we can begin to have even more of a conversation in West Virginia and in Pricketts Fort specific about the people that were here that were of African American descent. So my role is I come and talk about my first program of the day. I usually do a program that talks about the difference between Williamsburg, which is where my character comes from, old Bess from the Raleigh Tavern in Williamsburg, and she talks about the difference between Williamsburg, a city, and this area out here.
I have made a catfish stew. I just added some potatoes and carrots. It has turnips and parsnips, a little bit of onion already in it, of course the catfish, and just want to let that cook down so that in a little while it will be ready to eat. Raspberries would have been, they actually are ripe this time of year, so they would have went into the woods and picked the raspberries. The molasses cake is something that is actually kind of interesting because there's no sugar in it. The slaves did not have sugar, but they were able to use sweetenings with molasses. And the okra is something that came from Africa. It was a popular food with the slaves, and you could do a lot with it. You can fry it, or you can put it. It'll be going into the soup here a little bit later. You can do a lot with it that way. The turnip greens will also be going when the soup is almost finished. They'll be chopped up and put in it just so that they get wilty.
I'm preparing Hoecakes today, which would have been a staple. Simple recipe of cornmeal, a little bit of salt, a little bit of water to make a batter, and any spice that we would like to put into it. Put it in the spider or on a griddle, bake them, and that's your bread for the day.
I think history is important. I've always loved history. It's been of an interest to me, and I feel like we're losing the information from the past that we need to retain, and the lifestyles of the people that were here, and what they had endured to make our lives better.
Just before you leave, I'll introduce you to old Bess for just a moment. Good day to you. My name is Old Bess. They don't call me old because of my old age, all right? It's just I was at the Raleigh Tavern for so long. Being out here, it's most different than being at Williamsburg, I'll tell you that right now. Why, in Williamsburg, we have a Capitol Theater, and we have markets, and we have stores and such, and being out here, I done learned that life is much harder. You got to have your own here. You got to make your own things. You got to learn to cook and stay with what you got around here, and you don't always have a market to go and get the things you have. And it's a lonesome living, too. When you come to the fort, there might be some folk around here, but usually come to the fort when you're concerned about those that are here to harm you, the Indians or such like that. While in Williamsburg, we has a good relationship with many of the Indians, the Cherokee and the Catawba, the Choctaw, the Powhatan. We have a good relationship with them. But around here, it's more difficult. What I learned most of all, though, is that this is a place where you got to have your own. It ain't easy for slaves out here either, and there'd be about 80 families out here, and, well, some of them got slaves with them as well. Ain't no easier here, but oftentimes the slaves here has to be part of the family. They can't always be separated. Got to eat the same meals, and sometimes they's working together side by side, and most times sleeping in one space rather than somebody outside. But there's still concerns, still selling out here. And although I've heard some of the slaves out here say that they like to run, there's concerns that when they run, well, there's treaties with the Indians, and sometimes they get sent back for a good payment. So it ain't always easy to run. Most of what I learned, though, is no matter where he is, well, you got to make do with what you got around you. And indeed, I have learned while my time here, I've had to make do as well. But I will tell you, I'm looking forward to going back. But there will be things I miss. Late at night when the fiddle go around and folks can see the stars right pretty like. But that's the time you feel like you're equal to everybody. But morning does come.